you just tell us a bit about you, a bit about your background and your family?
I can do. As far back as I can remember, we were living in a wooden hut. My father worked in the trees, and he was a woodman, really.
Yeah.
And we lived in that. We didn't have any electric in them days. It was paraffin lamps.
Yeah.
We had an old stone. That is old-fashioned fires in the middle of
Stove.
Stove, that's the word
Yeah.
you used. I'm sorry I couldn't get that one back, but yes, a stove, and that was what we had. And I remember my youngest brother, when he was getting a wash in a basin on top of the stove.
What, so they used to put the water
The water.
and on top of the stove and then
Absolutely.
put the baby into...
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine the hell
So that was the nearest thing to a bath that we had in the house. No baths, no toilets, nothing like that.
Did you you always see at the museums and things, they have the tin baths. Did you have a tin bath, or how did you get washed as a child?
Tin bath would be too big.
Yeah.
No, if we got a wash, he just stood in front of the fire and got washed.
Yeah.
Up and down.
Yeah.
And sometimes when Mother was having a wash, I had to wash her back. Yeah, she asked me to do that frequently. Yes.
And you're saying you didn't have a toilet, so what did you do when you needed the toilet?
It was called a dry toilet outside in the garden.
Yeah, so you just literally went in the garden.
You could dig a hole and let it go.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And like toilet paper, did you have toilet paper?
Never.
What did you use?
Docking leaves.
Dock leaves?
Dock leaves.
Wow.
Yes. So if you was going there, you made sure you had plenty of dock leaves first.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And food, so what sort of things did you eat?
We were okay for food because it was in the Highlands and there was plenty of rabbits, plenty of deer, plenty of fish in the stream.
Yeah.
So we didn't do too bad for that.
So who caught these animals? Where did they come from?
Father. Father was a good poacher. He was a good gunner.
Yeah.
And yes, he got all the food for you.
So he'd just bring the animals home and your mum would just prepare them in front of the fire?
Well, yes.
So what was your standard sort of meal that you'd eat?
Soup.
Yeah?
Soup today, soup tomorrow, and maybe even soup at the weekend.
And so a soup, I imagine, would have like the rabbit. What sort of vegetables would you have had in your soup?
It was okay because we had vegetables in the garden. Yeah, you didn't go, there was no grocery shop that sold the thing. You did it yourself.
Yeah. So was it your mum that did the garden, or did you do it as kids?
We were too young to do garden at that time.
Right.
But it was always in the garden. Plenty spuds, plenty Swedes, as we call them.
Yeah.
And carrots and things like that, yes.
So you did well, didn't you, for a diet?
Yes, we did do.
And so nowadays they have like pop, squash, fizzy pop. What would you have drunk?
Water.
I know it's...
And tea.
Yeah, strange question, but where would your tea have come from? Where was your shop?
We hadn't got a shop. It was a grocer's van.
Right.
That came once a week.
Yeah.
And all around the countryside, yes.
And what would they sell on the grocer's van then?
Almost most things that you ever needed. No clothes, but groceries.
So what would you have done about the clothes?
I thought you were going to ask that.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
My grandfather was a tailor.
That's handy, really handy.
Yes. James himself, he was a good tailor.
And did you so if you had older family members, did they used to get passed on to you?
Oh, yes, always passed on. And of course, knitting. Mother used to do knitting all the stockings.
Yeah.
And darning as well, of course, when I needed.
She was a busy lady, wasn't she? So,
Oh, yes.
So did the cooking, she did the garden, she did the cleaning.
That's right.
She went to the church.
Yes.
She wouldn't have had many minutes free, would she?
I don't think so.
And how many children was there in your family?
Well, there was 3 in the family, and 3 the evacuees when we came to that time.
How did the evacuees blend into the family, and how did you suddenly make more beds for them? Where did they sleep?
Well, by the time the evacuees came, we moved house.
Right.
And we went into the family house in it, and it was named after my grandfather, which was Innes.
Right.
And the house was Innes' house.
Right.
And it is still Innes' house to this day.
Fabulous. So this house would have got passed down the family?
Yes, yes, yes.
Brill. And I said about beds, where did you sleep? I know it's a silly question, but what did you sleep in?
Well, it was quite a large house. It had something like 5 bedrooms.
Wow.
Between it was originally 2 houses put together.
Yeah.
So there was 5 bedrooms.
Yeah.
So that wasn't too bad.
Yeah. So as a child, you used to go to your local school that you said before you walked 3 miles to.
Yes.
What was your history from there? So you left school and you said, did you go into the army?
Well, when I left school at 15, I started at a farm,
Right.
the nearest farm to the house. And I was working on a farm like a lot of other people was. And then moved on from farming to working in a mill that cut timber.
Yeah.
And then jumped from there to a hydroelectric scheme, building a dam
Yeah.
in Inverness-shire, a long way away. And we had bothies. We lived in bothies.
Explain to me a bit, what is a bothy?
A bothy is a place where all the men lived together in huts,
Yeah.
joined together.
Yeah.
And that was a bothy.
What was that like, living in a bothy then with a load of other men?
It's quite good.
Yeah?
Quite good, yes. Because there's canteens. It's a big organisation.
So when you're saying a dam, what sort of work were you actually doing?
The dam had got to be built. So depending at the time of the van, you initially made sure that you prepared building, and then it was a case of everything from there on in concrete.
Right.
Everything's concrete.
Yeah.
And it would go up something like 70, 80 feet off the ground.
How?
70 or 80 foot concrete.
Yeah. How would you get it 70 foot up?
Well, there's 2 ways that you can get it. You can get by ladders,
Wow.
or you can get onto the lifting
Yeah.
devices. I can't remember
Yeah.
the name now. Yes, but that was what we're doing. And then from there on, I was joined the army after that.
So joining the army, was it your choice to join the army?
Not at first, no. I was called up at national service.
Yeah.
And when
At what age?
At my age, it was, that was 1957.
Yeah.
So I was taken for 18.
Yes.
Yes, 18 years old.
That must have been pretty scary, being called into the army. Did you know anybody else that had done it at the time?
Well, everybody did it at the time,
Right.
except if you work in farms.
All right.
You get off if you work at the farm.
So did you just get a letter to say your son's been called into the army and then off you went? How was it?
We waited for it because we knew it was coming.
Right.
And you just get something through the letterbox. And yes, you had to go to Aberdeen from where we lived in a train, steam train, all the way to Aberdeen and join up there.
That must have been really scary though, as an 18-year-old, and your life's been quite sheltered, and you didn't go very far very much further than 5 mile away, and all of a sudden, 18, you're getting on a train to go into the army?
Never been on a train before. Really good fun on a train for the first time.
Were you not scared?
Not really. What were we scared about? Yeah. But when I got to Aberdeen, the National Health National Service was for 18 months.
Right.
But when you got there, most of them would be sort of invited to do a little bit longer and get more money.
All right.
So I joined up for what was called 3 years at a time.
Yeah.
Yes, and so I joined 3 years.
So when you went there for the initial training, was it hard going? What was it like?
It was different.
Yeah.
It was at Aldershot. Joined up at Aldershot.
The furthest you'd probably ever been from your home?
I'd never been over the border. I hadn't been.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
We had to go to Aberdeen, change trains, and at 7 o'clock at night. But at 7 o'clock in the morning, we were in the
Aldershot?
Not Aldershot first, but London.
Right.
That's the name of the place.
That must have been an eye-opener.
Yeah, we landed there in London, and from London we'd be picked up from there, taken to Aldershot by wagons.
It must have been eye-opening for you to all of a sudden be on a train that you've never been on, in London, looking out that window, totally alien to you.
Yeah.
Can you remember that or not?
Well, you were young enough to be
Excited.
exciting. Yeah. What's in front of us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was the feeling on the train? I presume you were with other lads that were in the same position. What was that feeling like? Was it scared? Was it excitement? How did you feel?
It was all excitement.
Yeah.
Because you're right when you say there's other guys coming from the Aberdeen area as well, and we spoke the same language, and language was important because you understood each other until you get to London, and then it talked funny down there.
Yeah, but did you know what you were going actually to do? Because I presume the only way you knew was an announcement or something on the radio.
I had a cousin that was in the army and told me all about it, so yes, it wasn't a surprise.
So it wasn't. So you did know, you did brace yourself a bit for what was expected.
Yes.
And was the reality anything like that?
There was more of it.
Yeah.
It was there when you joined the army. You were there all the time.
Yeah.
You didn't just switch off at night and do something else.
Yeah.
You never was other than in the army.
So your life totally changed to be in the army.
Yes.
So I presume you had your meals together. You must have made some good friends.
A lot of friends. Yes. And then we got from Aldershot and we went to Somerset.
Yeah,
Somerset. And got my driving teaching there and got a license within 3 days.
You got a driving license within 3 days?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, for a truck?
Well, at home, I was driving tractors.
Oh, I thought you'd all of a sudden that was...
my father would give me the behind the wheel, no problem.
Yeah, so you did have some experience driving.
Yes.
So what kind of trucks were you driving then? Is that what you ended up doing?
7.5 ton trucks, lorries.
Yeah.
With a canvas roof.
Yeah.
So that's how old it was.
Yeah.
And 7.5 ton,
And what were you moving in them trucks then? If you
Nothing.
were driving them, what were you doing?
That was to get me a license down in
Somerset.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then I got posted on the doorstep, shall we say, from here. But it was actually Retford. That's it. I could remember. Yes, and I was sent there to be a tank transport driver. I had never seen the vehicle before, and it was the biggest ones in the army.
Wow.
And we were driving and carrying tanks weighing 60 tons.
Goodness me.
It's a fair old load, yes. That's before I was posted abroad, of course, volunteered to go abroad. So I spent a couple of years in Malaysia.
Yeah. That must have been, again, totally different.
Oh, absolutely.
What was that like?
Hot, very hot.
I presume you flew there.
No way.
No?
Went on a cruise.
Right. Cruise. Sounds quite nice.
It took 21 days.
Goodness me.
From, we left from Southampton and to Singapore. Great fun.
Yeah. And when you got there, what were you faced with? What was it like?
When we got off a lorry at the place that we were going to be living, it was a little airstrip. And when we got there was a sergeant major waiting for you. And he said, get that bag, or he had another name for it.
Yeah.
Dump it there because you're going somewhere.
Right.
And we all had to go to the same place. We had to run round the airstrip.
Right.
Because he thought we needed exercise.
Goodness.
And that's 3 times round the airfield.
Yeah.
And that was your
welcoming.
That's your welcoming, yes.
Wow. And from there, what happened?
Well, you found out where you were going to sleep. And it was quite a large building. It was actually a three-story building.
Right.
And it had been occupied by the Japs as well when the Japs were there.
Yeah.
And there were all sorts of things on the walls and stuff from the Japanese, which we couldn't understand.
What was your purpose of going there? Who were you going to fight? What were you doing?
Well, there was at that time an emergency, it was called, because it was the communist Chinese that was a problem.
Right.
And they were fighting the Malays.
Right.
And the British and from any other area.
So they'd come into, the Chinese had come into Malaya?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. They always were there, of course.
Right.
Malaya had Chinese, Indians, there was loads of different peoples.
But that's who you were fighting against?
I wasn't fighting.
Right.
I was driving.
Right. Do you think you were in a better position because you were driving?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I always had a guard.
Yeah.
Initially.
Yeah.
I always had a guard in the cab with me, and we were both armed, of course.
Did you ever have to use your guns?
We did many times, but not had to.
Right.
We did it for other reasons.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that coming down through the jungle used to be big notices up with a tiger on it.
Right.
And this tiger was to tell you that you wasn't allowed to take food in or out of that area.
Right.
Okay? But we used to use it for another reason. We would put the window down and I'd go boop, 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 boop.
On the sign?
On the sign.
Target practice on the tiger sign.
Target practice.
So you did get off lightly if you were just doing target practice on the sign. Is that all you had to shoot?
Well, yes, from my point of view, yes. I saw it, but I didn't have to do it.
Did you feel the effect it had on some of your friends that actually did have to fight? How did they seem?
Well, my friends were the same as me, drivers.
Right.
Yes. We used to carry the Chinese out of there. That would,
So if they caught them, you had to export them out?
Yeah, yes. Take them down to prison.
Yeah. So how long were you in Malaya?
Just over 2 years.
Yeah. And then was it home from there?
From there, I was taken home. I was ill.
Yeah.
And came home aboard a cruise ship again.
Yeah.
But I was in the hotel part of it, if you like, the hospital part, really.
So you took ill while you were working?
Yes.
Yeah. What happened, if you don't mind me asking?
It was just a stomach problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was that the end of your army career then, through medical reasons?
Yes, we went back down to Southampton again, went home for 2 weeks holiday, and then I went down to Glasgow Hospital there as well, and got an option to leave the army if I wanted to do, and they pensioned me off.
Yeah.
Yes, and I still get a pension today.
Fabulous. So actually your experience of the army was quite a positive one, wasn't it?
Well, positive, you're not going anywhere else.
Yeah,
Yes.
and positive that you didn't actually have to fight anybody.
No.
And you were quite protective.
Yeah.
So that's, I think we'll leave it there today, but that's been absolutely fabulous.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Not at all.
We'll speak to you another time then, Syd.
I hope so.
Thank you.